I got Nachi in my chest. Nachi in my Okay, fine. 1, 2. Count me down, dude. You're supposed to count me down. Count me down. Good day, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of All Things Women with Nosi, where we discuss all things from business, relationships, and health with women. So in today's episode, as promised on our previous one, I am going to be touching on some of my personal stuff. Well, it's not really personal actually, but we're going to be focusing on the health side of our conversations as women. And today I will talk about my journey with uterine fibroids. What are uterine fibroids, you ask? I will take you down through at least my understanding. But before we go into it, I just want to put out a disclaimer that I'm not by any means a health professional. So whatever I'm going to share now is going to be purely based on my experiences and what I went through as an individual living with uterine fibroids. Alrighty? Cool. So let's take it from the top. What are uterine fibroids? The easiest description that my gynae gave me was they are benign tumors. And basically what benign tumors is, they're non-cancerous, 1. 2, what they are basically, how do I put it? They're like a natural reflex of your body telling you that you are at your childbearing years. So you're supposed to have a child by now, so your uterus will naturally create a replica of what should be going on. You get what I mean? That is not the actual medical description of it, but that's like a flimsy description of what I understood it to be. Okay, so I was diagnosed with uterine fibroids in 2016. I'm not going to tell you how old I was because it's none of your business. Thank you very much. Thank you. I was diagnosed in 2016. I had them surgically removed in 2018. And the procedure that I went through, I will share with you as well. But there's different type of procedures. Hopefully when we have time, we can divulge into these as well. But for now, I'll give you the one that I went through. There's quite a few more and they're very effective, but depending on the stages and the size and the location of your fibroids. So I went through a surgical removal though in 2018. And yeah, so the first symptoms, or rather, in fact, you know what? I have a list of the first prominent symptoms I experienced when I picked up that something was off tune. Because you see, ladies, the thing is, our lady parts will always tell us when something is off tune. You know it, I know it. That's how God programmed us. You know when something is off tune. And I could feel it as well. Within a week or two, I could pick up that something was not normal, or something was happening rather differently from what I knew my body to be. So I have about 5 prominent signs or symptoms that were right at the beginning when I saw that something was off. The first one was I was frequently urinating. So that meant I was waking up every day, every night at about 3 or 4 times to pee. Not normal. And this is something that was not happening before. So now suddenly I am urinating, and it's not when you go there, it's like you get these drops. No, it's proper pee. You get there and you're peeing like, whoa, this is the second time I'm peeing. Whoa, this is the third time, and for me that was like, okay, what is going on? And then the second one that was back pain and on my joints. So from basically my lower back all the way down. So from my lower back, my joints on my knees and on my ankles, that's where I could feel the most prominent pain. So the back pains were quite visible, and I could feel that there was something rather unusual about how I was feeling, and I would be doing normal chores, your normal chores that anybody would do on any normal given day, but for some reason the pain was lingering longer than necessary. And the third one was fatigue. So I was constantly tired, which was absolutely exhausting because I wasn't the thing is, I wasn't even working at the time. I was literally just unemployed. So when I started getting tired so much, it was quite alarming. I was constantly, wait, why am I tired? I would do one thing that I would normally do, but then I was like exceedingly tired. And so that fatigue for me was suspicious. Lack of a better word. Yeah, it was suspicious. And then discomfort when I was lying on my back. Now, when you lie on your back, ne? So when I'm sleeping was at night, I'm minding my business and I'm sleeping. And then, but if I would just lie on my back, I could literally feel it move from left to right or from right. Like I could literally feel the lump that with something is moving. There's a discomfort that was going on. And I was like, what is this thing? What is going on? And that's when I decided to start Googling things. But the last one that was, well, not necessarily alarming, because it was my period flow. My periods were not heavy, they were not too light, but I started having clots, which was something I was not used to. So that means I had severe period pains, something I did not have before. But upon all of this, I was like, let me just Google this. Now I Google everything. I Google literally everything. Okay. When I tell you that I would wake up today and I had dreamt about cats, and I'm going to be like, when I wake up, I'm going to go into Google, I'm like, dream about cats. Because I want to know what it means to dream about cats, because I don't like cats. Anyways, so I Googled the symptoms, and the first thing that I picked up was cysts, but I knew what a cyst was, but I had never heard of fibroids. Call it negligence, call it ignorance, but I did not know what fibroids were until I Googled, and the symptoms were just not adding up. And eventually I bumped into this word fibroids, uterine fibroids. I'm like, what are uterine fibroids? And the more I read on them, the more the pieces fell together and they fit the puzzle. And I was like, no, this is what I have. I literally, by the time I went to my doctor, I had already self-diagnosed myself. I knew exactly what I had, although I didn't know what it was or what it looks like or where it grows, what it meant. I knew that there was a uterine fibroid. So I went there and he confirmed that it was a uterine fibroid. And so that's how everything, dare I say, went south. Everything just went whoop. So now your girl is unemployed, sitting at home every day. I've practically become a nanny to my nieces, wake up, cook, clean, normal routine. And now I have these things growing inside of me. My relationship I was in was horrible. It was going bad. Everything was not falling into place. If I tell you, 2016 and 2017 were the worst years of my life. I think that was the lowest rock bottom I hit, but purely because of the trauma that came with the fear that these things evoked in me. Nah. So when I finally went to see a gynecologist, the first thing he told me was that they're benign, which I already knew because I had Googled it. They're benign tumors, they're non-cancerous. So it was a relief on that part specifically. And I was honestly glad that they're quite benign and they didn't mean any danger to me. However, the fact that they could play a significant role in me not being able to carry a child, should there be scarring on my uterus if they get removed, or causing miscarriages if I don't remove them, and not knowing the location and how many I had, because you can grow a multiple of these. So they become like tiny little balls all around your uterus, or it could be just one huge one, and which was the case with me. Well, it was one big one and a few others, but they vary from size to size and location as well. And again, we'll talk into the location and the types and all those things. But that's what I wanted to talk about today. But more importantly, what I want to emphasize on, what I want to speak on more than anything is the emotional and the mental trauma that comes with these things. I almost went into depression when I learned that I had uterine fibroids, and it was not because of them alone. It was because of these other things I mentioned that were not going well in my life. So all these accoutrements put together led to me literally mentally breaking down, and I was not even aware. And if you know me, I'm a very strong person. In any case, I'm hard to crack. I've built that layer over time. I know that about myself, but at that point in my life, I did not realize that I had taken such a hard knock that I retreated from people. I retreated from life. I retreated from everything that drives me because I was so scared, constantly wondering what was wrong with me. I was putting on weight rapidly. I moved from a size 28 to a 34 in a space of 6 months. Something I'd never been. I'd never been bigger than a size 30. When I was big, I was a size 30. I'm big. But from then onwards, I reached 34 in a space of 6 months. By the time I had those things removed in 2018, I looked like I was 4 months pregnant. So when I would stand in front of a mirror sideways, and like my stomach looked like I was 4 months pregnant. At least that's what my gynecologist said when he examined me. That's how big it was. I do have pictures. I don't know whether I should share them with you guys or not. I probably will. I'll think about it. But I still have pictures of how big they were when they were removed for me. So earlier on, I mentioned the procedures that can be performed on you to remove these things. I had a myomectomy. Now, a myomectomy is basically the removal of the uterine fibroids, but they leave your uterus intact. So that's what basically myomectomy is. And then there's a hysterectomy, which then they remove the whole uterus with the fibroids. So they remove the whole thing. Okay? But then there's the latest one, which is a beautiful procedure that they do, which is incredible, and it's called embolization. So an embolization is basically they inject a certain fluid into your veins, and what it does is it shrinks down it shrinks the, or rather, let me not say it shrinks, it sucks the life out of the fibroids. So since your fibroids will feed off your blood to grow, so it blocks them from feeding off your blood, and then they die over time. So they don't have to cut you or perform any surgical procedures on you, which is incredible. I absolutely love it. Please do some research on these. I had a myomectomy because I did not know about embolization. Honestly, had I known about it, I would have probably requested it as well. But do a research on these if you are considering removing them. Now, in many cases, and people that I know, some women who are very close to me, beautiful, incredible women who are close to me, who are living with uterine fibroids, your doctor, or rather our gynecologist, will normally not advise removing these things, purely because of the health dangers they pose. So if they remove them and you don't intend on having a baby anytime soon, you risk them coming back, because they can come back. So the best way to do it is to have them removed, and then you immediately start having your children. That way they don't have enough time to grow back. So even if they do, you have probably carried all your children and you're done. And then they could obviously advise you removing your whole uterus and whatnot and so forth and all that good stuff. So your doctor will normally not advise you to remove them unless they pose, again, a medical issue to you, like heavy bleeding. That way you lose a lot of blood, and that is not healthy, because then you're anemic and. So that will be normally the case. But if you do experience difficulties, then yes, definitely they will have to obviously take the quickest way out to help you. And in many cases, some of us are not blessed with the pleasures of having medical aid where you can consider and have all these options handed over to you. So you go to a public facility, and the best thing they tell you is that, look, remove them. But now nobody ever takes the time to explain to you the repercussions and the dangers that come with it, and nothing prepares you again for the mental trauma that comes with it. The way I was scared, you guys, it is scary. It is a lonely place to be. In your head, you are constantly wondering whether you'll ever be woman enough, whether you will ever be able to conceive, whether you will ever be able to carry a child full term, whether you will ever be able to fit the category of being a woman. But society is scary like that. But I just want to tell you, ladies, that this is something that I went through. There's so much that I've left out, honestly, and I would like us to talk on specifically about these procedures. And secondly, where most fibroids would be located, because some would be on the inside, on the walls, and on the outside. So that as well, I would like us to touch on. Hopefully, I'll have one of the ladies that I know who are living with the same condition as well, who can then just divulge on her type of fibroids that she had, and so forth. Otherwise, please leave a comment below on what you would like me to talk about, given with these two options I've given you specifically, what you would like me to hear, what you would like to hear me talk about, what you would want to understand further, and all these other things that basically go into what uterine fibroids are. Just hit me up. Again, I repeat, I'm not a medical practitioner in any way. This is just personal experiences. But this is just me hoping that we can tap into these sensitive topics that we are told not to. Well, I'm not saying told not to, but we shy away from, from ovarian cysts, cervical cancer, uterine fibroids, all these things that we go through in our maternal selves, and how we can just help and guide each other go through them, survive, deal with them, know which doctors to talk to. Wouldn't it be wonderful to know someone who can direct you to a doctor who's in Johannesburg, who's in Durban, who is somewhere close where you can reach and you can speak to them face to face? So that's what I want us to do, break ground and just reach out to each other. Otherwise, thank you so much for tuning in, and comment, like, share, subscribe. Look out, All Things Women and the Conversation podcast. We're there, myself and the Big T. Love you guys, long time. Peace.